I was looking for love, was looking for love in all the wrong places. I was looking for love, was looking for love in Magic City. I was looking for love, was looking for love in all the wrong places.
What's going on, family? Welcome to the Tariq Elite Show, and I am your gracious host. This is Tariq Elite Nasheed, also known as King Flex, and I am broadcasting live out in the beautiful island of Nuku Hiva, and this is in French Polynesia. So I'm going to be chopping up some real quick game today. It's not going to be a long show today, but the game will be heavy nonetheless. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take a real quick commercial break, and when I get back, we're going to go back into the game and chop it right on up. So I will be right back. Hey, this is Tariq Nasheed, New York Times bestselling author and producer of the critically acclaimed bestselling documentary series Hidden Colors 1, 2, and 3. I want you to join me in London on Sunday, March 15th for a live lecture at Friend's House in Houston. I'm going to be discussing the international rules of racism, so trust me, you don't want to miss it. Get tickets right now at back2blackempire.com. That's back2blackempire.com. You know, a lot of times black people want to travel to other countries, but they don't know who to hook up with to show them around. Well, if you ever go to Japan, your problems will be solved. Check out blacktokyotours.com. They have a Black Heritage Tour where they give you limo service from the airport to your hotel, and they take you around the country showing you important landmarks. Go to blacktokyotours.com. Tell them King Flex sent you. That's blacktokyotours.com. The book, Marginalizing White Supremacy, is available now. You know, it appears that since the first election of Barack Obama, the old days and the old ways of white supremacy has reemerged and is wreaking havoc to black lives every day and in every way. So it's very important that we understand the ins and outs of white supremacy. So pick up the brand new book, Marginalizing White Supremacy, a philosophical call to action post the Obama presidency. And you can get this book at Amazon.com, you can get it at Kindle, and you can get it at Lulu.com. You can also get it at BarnesandNoble.com. Again, that book is Marginalizing White Supremacy. If you want to get some real fly art, and I mean real fly art, you need to check out artbyrico.com. Now, artbyrico.com, they offer a variety of original or printed jazz art for any budget and for any occasion, and they ship nationwide. I have some of the art myself in my home, and it's fly. I can vouch for that. Go to artbyrico.com. That's artbyrico.com to get up on this fly art.
You are now tuning in to the King of Game, Tariq Elite, on Tariq Elite Radio.
I am delivered.
All right, family, we are back live on the Tariq Elite Show, broadcasting out here in Nuku Hiva, French Polynesia. And a lot of people are wondering, where in the hell is Nuku Hiva? Well, Nuku Hiva, this is out here it's between Hawaii and Tahiti. It's in the South Pacific Ocean. Beautiful island. Very secluded. And it's a big island, too. They shot one of the episodes of Survivor. I think season 4, they shot it out here. Some of the people out here told me that. And the people here are wonderful. It's only about 2,000 or 3,000 people inhabiting this island. This island used to have hundreds of thousands of people back before the late 1800s, and then the Europeans came in with diseases and genocide and the regular. So I've been learning a lot about the history out here and just chopping it up with the Melanoid family out here. Real good people out here. And the island is very exotic. I put up some pictures on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see some pictures, and I'm putting up as much as possible while I'm out here because the internet connection is real janky out here because this is a secluded island. And beautiful place. The hotel I'm in, there's only really one hotel on the island. I'm in the only hotel, it's the Pearl Lodge Hotel. But it's a real beautiful place. A lot of people out here sailing. I'm sitting up looking out my window now at the ocean and the mountains as we speak. And again, follow me on Instagram at Tariq Elite, and you can check out some pictures of that. Real deep history about this place. There's a lot of statues around the island, these ancient statues that have these Africoid features, and I'm checking those out. And I love learning about different exotic places and learning about the potential or suspected African presence in some of these places. And out here, they got like a lot of formerly domesticated animals that are running wild. The Russians came out here in the 1800s, and this place was eventually colonized by the French. So they brought goats and cattle and horses. So there's wild horses everywhere. You're driving through the forest, and then there's a bunch of wild pigs running out. There's wild roosters up in trees eating coconuts and breadfruit. So it's definitely a nice experience being out here with the Melanoid brothers and sisters and soaking up different cultures. And a lot of times when I post pictures up, people say stuff, well, Tariq, man, I wish I can travel. I can't wait till I travel. I want to travel too. Well, you can. You can do whatever you want to do. You can travel. You can, this ain't, you can do whatever you want to do. A lot of times, man, people go unfulfilled. And that's what we're going to talk about later on in the show today. How to strategize, become fulfilled, and also to become empowered. Because that's very important, because I'm on my melanoid empowerment kick. That's my whole thing for the new year. For 2015, I'm trying to emphasize not just empowerment, but specifically melanoid empowerment for melanoid people all around the world. And people, even if you're not melanoid, you can be personally empowered as well. But I'm talking about the melanoid people first. That's my primary focus, because we get this whole, what I call, well, not what I call, but what the government calls a benign neglect policy, where black people, melanoid people, their needs are just never even spoken of publicly, let alone their needs being met. And this is evident in the President Obama State of the Union address that happened the other day. Now, I'm out here in French Polynesia, so I didn't get a chance to see it, but when I did get online, I saw a lot of people talking about the President's State of the Union, and a lot of people were applauding it. People were giving props to it, and I'm going by this on Twitter. And again, a lot of times you have a lot of shills, S-H-I-L-L-S, shills on Twitter, who are paid for by certain organizations to promote a certain agenda. So a lot of times stuff on Twitter you kind of have to take with a grain of salt. But I did see a lot of people giving props to the President's State of the Union address. And I was asking people one basic question. In this State of the Union address, was anything said about all these black people getting killed legally by law enforcement and vigilantes? Was anything said about that? People said no. I said, well, that's all I need to hear. That's all I want to hear. Because if that has not been addressed, basically everything else is blah, blah, blah. See, there's this benign neglect policy that's on black people that's been in place since the late 1960s, where government officials are pretending that black people don't exist. So they don't even mention black people at all. They start using these hide behind words and these code words like minorities and people of color. And that can mean anybody. So black people, we're going to have to get this benign neglect policy out of the collective psyche of the nation. We're going to have to start saying, hey, what about black issues? What about melanoid issues? You're going to have to specifically get them to specify and target your demographic. Black people are afraid to mention black people. That benign neglect policy has seeped over into the black consciousness, because now black people, whenever you say black, you always got to dilute it with, well, black and brown, black and Latino, black and Hispanic. We always have to mix it with black and, because we're so afraid of saying, hey, we want something done or said about the treatment of black people. So we are going to have to stop allowing that benign neglect policy to dictate what goes on with us, because this is why nothing ever gets done as far as black people getting any kind of help or resources in this country specifically, because we've been specifically targeted and still are. A few days ago, there was another video came out of unarmed black man getting shot. So there's unarmed black people getting shot repeatedly over and over again, and nobody is saying this publicly as far as politicians or our government officials. And black people are going to have to start making noise as far as that and stop letting the coon train derail that. But I digress. Speaking of white supremacy, that new movie, American Sniper, that movie has become a big success, especially among the white supremacists and the suspected white supremacists around the country. The story, and I haven't seen the movie yet, but I do plan on seeing it. I do want to see it, and I want to see what it's about. It's a Clint Eastwood movie, and it's about this guy who was a sniper for the U.S., is it the Army or the Marines? One of for the U.S. military. I can't think of the guy's name. It's based on a real guy. From what I understand in the movie, they pretty much romanticize this guy's legacy. And, you know, they give it the Hollywood version, but they hide the fact that this guy was a suspected, and some people say confirmed, white supremacist. The guy had very negative views about people who were non-white, and he even made up some story. Some people said he made it up. Some people said it's true. I don't know, but he did tell this story about how he went down to Hurricane Katrina, down to New Orleans during the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, and he was shooting and killing looters. Now, looters, that was the code word for unarmed black people. Because a lot of people down there were not looting. When you're down there stuck in water, you're trying to do what you need to do to survive. You're out there drowning, you're stuck, you're trying to get out. But the white supremacists, all they have to do is use code words to criminalize black people by saying looters or thieves. And then that will justify them killing black people, because a lot of black people were killed down there who were innocent. A lot of innocent, unarmed black people were killed down in New Orleans, and there were white supremacists picking them off. This is why black people are going to have to get a code of conduct and get serious about empowering themselves, because the white supremacists, whenever there's a moment of weakness, which there's always a moment of weakness in the black community, but when there's an opportunistic moment for them to take advantage of your collective weakness, they take advantage of that and they start picking you off. So black people are going to have to get serious. They were shooting and killing a lot of black people down in New Orleans. But this guy who did the American Sniper, who the movie was about, he was talking about how he killed all these people, black people down in Katrina. Now, whether he was telling the truth or not, that's inconsequential, because the thing is, the fact that he would even relay that type of message shows his mindset. That shows the kind of mindset he has, which is that of a white supremacist. And the fact that this country is celebrating a white supremacist film. In the movie, they portrayed the Arabs as these demonic people. As from what I understand, they were killing men, women, and children in the movie. And again, I haven't seen the movie, but this is just from the reports I've been getting about the movie, and I got to see the movie. On Twitter and other social networking sites, a lot of people are using this movie to propel their own racist views. Several different news sites reported that people saw the movie and got on Twitter talking about, oh yeah, I'm so glad this movie came out. It makes me want to kill sand niggers. It makes me want to kill ragheads. I'm glad they shot all those sand nigger raghead Arabs. And that's another thing too, because I'm not too big on caping for other people. Other people, when you start getting the wrath of white supremacy, you have to deal with that, because the thing is, I'm not going to pull people into the whole kumbaya circle when they start getting thrown under the bus, because there are a lot of people who are technically Arabs, but who are still classified as white. So they get to dip in and out. So when it's convenient for them, a lot of times they will share some of the same white supremacist views as some of these other people towards black folks. They have the same white supremacist views towards black people and their so-called Arabs. But when movies like this come out, or when situations like 9/11 happen, then Arabs get thrown back into the nigger pile. Then all of a sudden, cats looking at us with the sad eyes wanting to join hands to help them. No, you're going to have to hold your own nuts, as they say. I'm not holding nobody else's nuts. And black folks got to get off that. Let people hold their own nuts. When the white supremacist starts targeting you, let them do them, because nobody's helping us when we're getting targeted out here, when we're getting shot down like dogs. None of these other groups, and I'm talking about collective groups, they're not getting together with their power, speaking out for us in a major way. They might do something like, well, we wrote a letter of solidarity. That ain't shit. I'm talking about getting out here with your resources and your numbers and your power and speaking out against what's happening with black folks. None of these so-called women's groups who black people are always caping for, they're not doing anything. They might write a letter of support, which ain't shit. Some of these gay organizations who black people are always caping for, black people are always in the forefront of caping for the gay community. They're not really saying anything publicly or making any massive noise for us, other than possibly writing a letter of support to Al Sharpton, which ain't shit. None of these groups, when the shit goes down with us, they're not coming out caping for us hard like we cape for them. So when white supremacy bites you in the ass, you gotta hold your own nuts. But again, when they make movies like this, when movies like this come out, and it gets mad and massive support, you got to really be careful. Black people, it's really time to wake up, because this is the new version of Birth of a Nation. Because all those so-called Arabs in that movie, just replace those with black people, because it's the same. All those non-whites in that movie, that same anger and vitriol that moviegoers get when they see that movie, they're going to take it out on black people in America. You're going to take it out on the closest people to you, the closest people you despise. So it's time for black people to stop playing around in the game and get serious about empowering themselves. And we got to stop letting people manipulate us into caping for their agendas. That reminds me of the whole thing with the show Empire, the television show Empire that's on Fox. Because again, these are agendas, these are propaganda pieces. Just like this American Sniper movie, that's a propaganda piece. Just like Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation was a propaganda piece. That was a movie that created a sense of white solidarity. White supremacy gives the dominant society a reason to join hands with each other. And the movie Birth of a Nation did that. It was a major propaganda piece. When that movie came out, black people started getting lynched left and right. And this movie, American Sniper, is coming out showing that melanated people are the enemy, giving the dominant white society a reason to join hands and collectively join with each other against the black threat or the brown threat or the non-white threat. So these are propaganda pieces. And like I was saying about the show Empire, now, I like the show Empire. I like the show. I like the acting. I like Taraji P. Henson. I like Terrence Howard. I like the show. It's entertaining to me. I like the show. Now, in the show, there is some propaganda in the show. They throw in some propaganda. And a lot of times, what the white supremacists will do, they will get their black person to mouth and puppet their agenda. And that's what they get Lee Daniels to do. And shout out to brother Dr. Boyce Watkins. He did a story about this a few days ago, talking about the agenda that's in the show Empire. Now again, I still like the show, and I know what to pick and choose to fuck with in the show, and I know propaganda, and I know how to kind of take that out of the mix and not fall for the propaganda. And I talked about this a few weeks ago on my Ustream, how the show Empire has this whole thing where one of the people in the show is gay, and they keep talking about how there's so much homophobia in the gay community, and I didn't like them doing that. I didn't like them doing that because that's a lie. This whole black community is homophobic and all, that's a lie. That's a lie, and it's a crock of bullshit. The black community as a whole, collectively, we've always welcomed and gave refuge to people in the gay community. The church, you can't say the church is homophobic, but the church is full of gay people. There's always a gay choir director in a church somewhere. People like to use this whole thing about the church being homophobic. There's gay dudes running around churches. Shout out to Eddie Long, by the way. But there's gay dudes running all around these churches in America, these black churches. They're not in the white churches, I can guarantee you that. Those white churches don't play that. And I've talked about this many times on the show. It's those white churches in the white community that ain't really getting down with the gay community like that, especially in middle America. Now, the white community, they have a defined gay community. But outside of that defined gay community, the white folks ain't really fucking with gay people like that. They have a lot of hatred for gay people. Gay white people. Let me clear that up. They have a lot of hatred for gay white people. Now, in the dominant white society, they will welcome in a gay black person. They'll welcome in a gay black person before they do a gay white person, because certain things in the black community is accepted by the white community that other white people don't accept from other white people. And I talked about this on Ustream. The white community will accept an overweight black woman, but they won't accept an overweight white woman. Overweight white woman is criticized. The black community will accept a gay black man with open arms. As a matter of fact, they'll prefer to have a gay black man around. But if there's a gay white dude, the white community, they're not really trying to welcome him in like that. So with this whole thing, this whole agenda for the show Empire, Lee Daniels, he did a story the other day. He did an interview talking about how homophobia is the cause of AIDS. Saying that because so many people are afraid to come out, they're on the down low. He's bringing back that whole down low bullshit. And they're infecting all these black women with AIDS, and that's why there's AIDS, because black people are so homophobic. That's a crock of bullshit, and Lee Daniels should be ashamed of himself putting some bullshit like that out. Because that is just not true. Homophobia is not the cause of AIDS. We got to be very clear. AIDS was something that was created and given to people. Let's just be very clear. AIDS was created, and I'm not talking on some conspiracy theory nonsense. AIDS was created and given to people here and given to people in Africa. Homophobia has nothing to do with AIDS in Africa either. It was something that was given, and then what the white supremacists will do, they will create a situation where we blame ourselves for something that they put out there in the mix. And the reason why a lot of black women get AIDS, usually it's low-income black women. A lot of times it's black women who are having sex with the same small pool of dudes. So it's not homophobia, it's a lot of women having sex with the same small pool of dudes. Some of these dudes happen to go to jail, and in jail they give you AIDS in jail. They do all types of shit to brothers in jail. I never take white supremacy out the mix. Why have they created a system of mass incarceration? To give these brothers AIDS. I look at the white supremacists and I put them all in the mix because they're in charge of all of it. So this whole black people are homophobic, that's why we have AIDS. Lee Daniels should be ashamed of himself, because that's not a true narrative. Now let's get into the game. Now what I want to talk about measuring your game. That's what I want to talk about today. Because I want to talk about the importance of becoming fulfilled and the importance of empowering yourself. Because like I said earlier, a lot of people say, well, Tariq, you do this, you travel. I want to do that. I want to travel. And I say, you can. You can travel. You just have to be fulfilled and you have to empower yourself. And not just travel, but anything you want to do, you can empower yourself. Other people cannot empower you. Now, what are the steps to become fulfilled? What are the steps to empower yourself? The first thing you have to do, you got to ask yourself 3 questions, family. The first question you have to ask, where are you? Where are you at this moment? The second question you have to ask, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? The third question you have to ask is, how do I get there? Now, there are 3 strategies to answering these 3 questions. Now, for question number 1, when you ask yourself, where am I? The first strategy you have to do is measure your game. And that's a very important strategy because a lot of people do not measure their game. A lot of people, not only don't they measure their game, they lie to themselves about where they are in the game. You have to take a barometer test of where you are. And you got to be very honest about where you are in life so that you can know where to go and how to get there and what steps to take. But you got to know where you are at this moment. How's my level of game? Has my game been working so far? How has my game working? Have I been failing? Why am I failing? You got to measure yourself. Any type of situation, there has to be some type of litmus test to see where they are. You got to have a scoreboard. If you have a sports team who's not taking score, they're not going to be progressive. They're not going to progress if they're not taking score. They're just out there shooting balls and not taking score. There's no rhyme or reason and no strategy, and you're not going to move anywhere. You're not going to move forward. And a lot of times we're out here just going through life and not taking score of anything, just kind of doing shit. So you got to ask yourself, what kind of women am I pulling? How do you rank them? How much cooperation am I getting? We got to ask ourselves. See, a lot of times what we do, we just spin the wheel of thirst and see where it lands. And then wherever it lands, we take it. So that's not strategy, and that's why a lot of people are not fulfilled, because you're just taking whatever you can get. And what happens is that people lie to themselves and they're not honest with themselves about where they are, and they can't take the next step. And instead of saying, hey man, I might need to lose a few pounds, people start saying shit, well, I'm thick. I ain't really fat, I'm just real thick. That's lying to yourself. Just say, hey, look, I'm fat. I need to take these steps to improve my body shape. Or a lot of dudes will just read one book and think that they're scholars and not be honest with themselves and say, hey, look, I just read one book. I don't know as much as I think I do. Let me step my game up so I can get more knowledge. So you got to measure your game. That's very important. And we need to say, look, this is where I want to be. I want to be here on this level. Instead of saying I want to be here on this level, what people do is oftentimes they will just lower the bar so they can get an easy win. And lowering the bar to the point where winning is just extremely easy, that's lying to yourself. That's why you ever see like the Maury Povich show and you see a bunch of hood rats on stage with a whole bunch of babies, and they bring out one dude and this nigga is like popping his collar like he's really doing some fly player shit. Yeah, Murray, these bitches just want to have my baby. Hey, nigga, shut up. He got all this false swag like he's the player of the year, and basically, dude, all you did was just lower the bar to the point where you're getting hood rats, and you're getting hood rats fighting over you, and you think you're winning, but you're losing. You think you're winning, but in reality, you're losing. So what you're going to have to do, you're going to have to raise that bar. Don't have no fake victories. That's just like a sports team playing a weak team and then bragging about the win. All you did was lower the bar, and you're bragging on a win. That's why I get on the white supremacists. See, the white supremacists, they're out here bragging about killing black children. This is why white supremacy is going to fall off. We're going to replace that system with justice, because when you have a degenerate system like that, where you're celebrating the murder of children, your society and your system is going to fail. It's inevitable that is going to fail. I just want it to fail in my lifetime so we can get justice. An unjust system should fail. You got white supremacists out here bragging about killing unarmed kids. Basically, you've lowered the bar so you can feel supreme and superior about yourself. That type of system is destined to fail because it's a degenerate system. But the thing is, in life, you gotta measure where you are. Lowering the bar is lying to yourself. So you gotta raise the bar and be very honest with yourself. And then you got to ask yourself that second question: where do you want to be? And when you ask that question, the strategy to find out the answer is focus. You got to focus on your goal. You got to focus on what you want to do. You got to focus on where you want to be. A lot of times we work hard and we don't focus on nothing. We just focus on kind of working hard without an end goal, or we just focus on running around. I won't even say working hard, but we focus on running around without having a goal. That's why I criticize a lot of the protests that's going on around the country, because a lot of people are just kind of walking around in the streets in circles and nobody has an end goal. There's no goal at all. Nobody knows what the goal is. Nobody knows what the strategy is. People just kind of walking around with their hands up, and okay, you're getting attention, but there's no goal and no strategy. There's no end game. There's no focus on what really should be done. So you got to get your focus game on. And not just with that, but in any part of life, you got to focus on what you want to achieve. You want to focus on what your end goal is. You got to focus on what you want. Do you want to get dimes? Let's focus on dimes. Ladies, if you want to get urban renaissance men, you got to focus on urban renaissance men and focus on what you need to do to attract that type of dude. Fellas, if you want that fly, sexy ass chick, you got to focus on what you need to do to get that fly, sexy ass chick. And you got to understand this: a lot of times when you focus on something and you start working towards what you're focusing on, you will get opposition. And that's the thing. Don't get sidetracked by opposition, because a lot of times when you say to yourself, I'm going to focus on starting my own business. I'm going to focus on working for myself. That's my focus. The minute you start focusing on that, you get people trying to oppose you and sabotage you. People start coming out the woodworks talking about, man, you don't need to start no business. That's too much work. Man, just stay over here at the job. As a matter of fact, I can get you a better position at the job I'm in. People start trying to oppose you and sabotage what you're trying to focus on. Don't let that happen. Because misery loves company, as they say. And a lot of times people will want you to fail so they can have an ally. When you fail, you'll always have an ally to help you fail. When you want to do some dumb shit, there's always somebody down with you to do some dumb shit. But when it comes time for you to focus on something progressive, a lot of times you find yourself by yourself. And that throws a lot of people off because they don't have any allies immediately. But if you keep on working towards what you're focusing on in a progressive way, the allies will come. Understand that. When you're ready to do some dumb shit, there's always a pool of allies right there ready for you to do some dumb shit. When you want to smoke the pipe, there's somebody right there with you ready to smoke the pipe with you. You want to rob a store, there's a dumb motherfucker you can find to help you rob a store. When you want to go to a ratchet club somewhere, there's always a bunch of people who's ready to roll to a ratchet club. But when you want to go to like a real estate seminar or an empowerment seminar or something like that, those same niggas got every excuse in the book to not go. But you gotta be focused and don't let people oppose you and sabotage your focus. Even when you get into a relationship, if you focus and say, hey, look, I'm in a new relationship and I want to focus on making my relationship work. Men and women, this happens. Dudes, you say, look, I got me a lady. I'm going to focus on me and my lady making this thing work. All of a sudden, when that energy gets out there, or if the word gets out that you are in a relationship that you're trying to make work, all of a sudden you start getting those phone calls from those ex-chicks from back in the day. They start calling you, especially with the ones with the great oral skills. They just happen to call you up trying to get you off focus. They'll randomly call you up. Hey, I just wanted to call and say Merry Christmas. You know, just random shit. And that takes you off focus. Even with women, when you focus on your dude, you're in a relationship and you want to focus on that dude. All of a sudden, these ex-dudes that you used to date start calling you up, especially the dudes who used to dick you down properly. That one dude who done put your coochie in a coma starts calling you up on Valentine. Hey, happy Valentine. And now you got doubts in your mind, and now you're getting sabotaged psychologically. So again, people, when they find out that you're trying to focus on something, people will go out of their way to oppose you or to sabotage you. So we shouldn't let that happen. And the third thing we should do, family, when you ask the question, how do I get there? The third strategy is to act. You got to act on those strategies. You got to act on that question. And too many people are comfortable with just sharing information, just going back and forth with information without acting. Too many people are just comfortable with talking about stuff without acting on what they're talking about. Too many people are just comfortable with having meetings over and over again. People love having meetings instead of acting. Instead of saying, okay, this is what we're going to do to act and to build and to accomplish what we're talking about. Everybody's like, okay, we're going to have another meeting next week. And the next week, we're going to plan on having another meeting. That's another way to stall action. So don't get into that rut. Because a lot of times people get into this stalling and they get into these trigger words to pretend that they're doing some action. Like protesting. Protesting gives the illusion of action. Basically, it's just movement, but it doesn't have a goal. Your movement has to have a goal. So a lot of people say, well, I am acting. I'm out here protesting. No, you're just out here moving around. You're moving, but you don't have a goal, so you're not really acting on anything. Moving and acting are two different things. You act when you move towards the goal. Just moving around in circle, that's just a motherfucker moving around in a circle. Because people do stuff and use these code words as if they're doing some action. They say, well, we're gonna protest and we're gonna demand that the police stop brutalizing us. We're gonna demand that the government give us some money. We're gonna demand. They start throwing out these terms, demand. And when you say this, what are you going to do as far as reciprocal action if they don't give in to your demands? Because if you don't have any kind of reciprocal action to reprimand people for not giving in to your actions, you're just talking again. So if the police department or whoever, if they don't stop brutalizing you, what are you going to do as far as an action to reciprocate? What are you going to do to basically punish them? But we're going to go out here and march some more. Well, you can't demand nothing. You're just talking. You need action. Action means you set up a system, whereas you create voting and campaign contributions where you can economically take people out of office. That's action, where you get together as a group and say, okay, look, you're going to keep brutalizing us. We're going to get our money together. We're going to put our own politician in office. We're going to get all of the police chiefs fired here, here, and here. And then we're going to replace this police department with people we want in there, because we're going to use our money to create a system of justice for ourselves. That's action. But going out here just saying, okay, I'm going to protest in front of the police station and yell at you, and that's my action. No. That's not action. That's basically just movement, and you're going in a circle. And let's stop using deceptive code words like demand and protest as if that's action. We're going to have to take real action out here in the game. And I'm just using protest and all these things as an example. This can be applied to every facet in life. Again, I'm just using protest and all that as an example because that's what's going on in the media now. Anyway, y'all, let me get back out here on the beach and get around the island and do my thing. I'm going to be in Tahiti tomorrow. I'll be out there all day tomorrow doing some things. So again, everybody take heed to the words in the game of today's show. Don't forget to go to TariqElite.com to get that Tariq Elite gear. Get the Melanoid Nation shirts at melanoidnation.org. Don't forget to go to HiddenColorsFilm.com. Black History Month is coming up, so everybody should have and should promote and should give out copies of Hidden Colors 1, 2, and 3 to schools and universities. This should be shared throughout the whole month so they're not beating us over the head with the nonviolent civil rights rhetoric. All right, I'm out of here, y'all. Y'all have a great day. I will holler at you guys hopefully on Sunday on Ustream. I should be back in the U.S. on Sunday to chop up game with you on Ustream. I'm going to holler. Peace.